Welcome to Happy Hour. It is April 24th. It is Happy Hour time. It is Hug Nation time in our worlds. If you are listening to this live, well, then you are part of the live vibration, amplification, process, cessation, wah, 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 wah. And if you're listening to the archive, well, then you are doing the exact same thing. It's just that you are receiving that vibration at another time. Hug Nation is time and space independent. It is intention based. It is vibration based. And so, as each of us allows the love vibration, the connection vibration to go through us, to feel, to be a part of who we are, it grows. Just like a single note, as it's layered upon many, many other people's notes, that vibration gets louder. And so the love is loud when we share it in live or archive. So thank you. Before we go too deep, let's just take a moment and get present. Try to let go of your story, let go of what brought you here, let go of your to-do list and your responsibilities, and just sink into the now. Just experience the sensations of this moment. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your seat in the chair. Hear my voice. And then notice what other sounds that you might hear. Maybe a car, a fish tank, a fan, a voice. And tune into your body deeper. Are there places in your body that are hotter or colder? Can you feel the temperature difference depending on if it's clothed or in the air? Where's your body touching your body? In this now moment, all of our needs are met. There is nothing lacking. In this now moment, as we let go of our plans and to-do lists and just allow, we leave ourselves open for the cosmic flow, for divine love vibrations to gradually steer us, pull us towards our bliss. Thank you, universe, for all of these blessings. Help us to focus on them. Help us to make them grow in our lives. Fill us up with joy so we can spread joy in the world. Amen. Welcome! Oh, it is so good to have you here, yes. Uh-oh. It's always a dangerous start when an accent creeps out. Is this true? Yes, this is true. So, the topic of the day is yoga and the lessons therein. I posted some pictures recently online because I've been doing pretty dedicated yoga now for about a month. 3 to 4 classes a week, hot yoga, really pushing myself. And I'm noticing my spirit and my body really going through changes. And so I posted that with some beefcakey shots, like this one. And this one. You know, I'm got to be honest with you. At 40 years old, almost 41 in May, I'm pretty shocked that I'm looking like that right now. So it was kind of a kick to post that and get flattering notes and it started some good conversations about yoga and like people were saying, well, a lot of people are like, yes, me too, yoga changed my life, and then some people are like, well, I don't get it. I went to a yoga class. Can you explain to me what it's doing for you? And so I wanted to address that in this lecture, in this talk, in this moment that we share together. So I've been pretty dedicated to my non-physical practice in terms of my spirituality and my mental process of growth, analyzing my thoughts, returning to happiness, seeking joy, and breaking down thoughts that are causing me suffering. That has been a pretty solid part of my practice for over a decade. And so through that, I really feel a lot stronger as a practitioner of joy and of a spiritual path, of my spiritual path. But in the last year, I've really been keenly aware of how my body has not been have not been dedicating the same kind of energy to my physical practice of being in alignment. And I think that it's all related. And so as the body, it's tempting in the modern world to sink into terminal based living. We can spend our entire lives sitting down and communicating, as I'm doing right now, and experiencing the world through status updates, through photo galleries, through chat, and so it feels like life, but it's actually a couple steps removed from living. And I've noticed in myself that I have really been out of balance in that way. And went to a conference recently called Tribal Convergence, where there was a number of yoga instructors and massage therapists and qigong masters and all these people who are putting a lot of energy into the physical alignment of their spiritual path. And it reminded me, or showed me, that I was not nearly in touch with my body, which is, it is such a huge part of being a human being, is having a physical experience of the universe. Yes, we have consciousness that allows us to perceive it, and that's incredible. But we also have this incredibly able body that can have the sensations, that can propel themselves, can lift themselves up and do. And so, as I've seen friends get into yoga, get into acro yoga, get into qigong, get into hooping and poi and flow arts, all of these things, I'm like, oh, I'm not getting it, and I know it. So, I also, as I say to myself over and over, I need to do yoga. I have these huge mental blocks, these fears, because I have a really hard time doing something that I'm not good at. Anyone else have this trait where it's really hard to start a new sport or a new anything when you suck? You can't go from zero to awesome, but sometimes that's enough to not make me do something. I've gone a couple times, but I've never got into snowboarding, partially because I used to be an awesome skier. And then when snowboarding started to become popular, I tried it, and I went from being like a hot dog on the slopes that people would hoot at as I did back scratchers under the lift, to somebody who's falling. And it just, that transition from being, a badass to being a novice was so hard for me. And I recognize that that's something that I need to work on. And yoga is one of those opportunities, and has been and continues to be. That's one of the reasons why even before I was doing it, I knew it was so important. The mental obstacle was every bit, if not far more challenging to me than the physical obstacles. I'm tighter in my psyche than I am in my body. So, Sarah says she feels uncomfortable learning a new thing in front of people who are already amazing. Totally. Like, I hang out with people who do poi and flow and all this stuff all the time. And I'm like, that's awesome. And then they want to teach me, and I'm like, no thanks. And even though I know that they'll love me through every mistake I make or every learning process, it's so hard. So I finally sucked it up and started going to yoga about a month ago. And the first huge obstacle was all the mental stuff. I don't know where to put my mat. Am I too close to this person? Are they mad at me because I put my mat right next to them? Oh, I just brushed their finger. Oh my gosh, they must. I think I'm wearing the wrong thing. Should I be taking my shirt off? Everyone else has their shirt off. But if I have my shirt off, then my nipple rings are showing, and that's kind of distracting. Look at my hair. I bet everyone's distracted by my hair. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so embarrassing. And slowly but surely, I'm starting to sink in and listen and really hear the messaging, which is always about, this is your practice. You are here as a gift to yourself. There is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. There is simply following, getting out of the way, and allowing yourself to have this experience, and then experiencing it, being present for it. And that's one of the huge, grand lessons of yoga, which is that it is a practice. That very concept of taking on life as a practice has been transformative for me. Because it means that you're not always in the state of trying to achieve and trying to get something done so you can get to the next thing, trying to get that done. You're not trying to get to be a black belt in yoga. You're not trying to get to be a grand master wizard in life. You're just responsible for being present and having integrity at the task at hand. And yoga is that. It's saying, look, just be present, do your best, which is different at every moment, and honor yourself and then this now that you are in. That's huge. So really getting into that and allowing myself to have these reminders on a daily basis of what yoga is has been wonderful. Now, initially I started going to a place called Core Power Yoga because it's the closest, and they had a free week, and so I tried it. And at first I was like, you know what, it's a little less spiritual than I wanted. It's a little bit more physical. It does have definitely spiritual elements, and it does remind you what certain core spiritual ideas behind yoga is, but it doesn't hit you over the head. There's not a ton of breathing things. There's not a ton of, I guess it depends instructor by instructor, but at least the first two I went to, it was very gym-like, and I was like, okay. But what I realized was that actually was okay for me. As I was mentioning, like I do put a lot of energy into my mental practice. So having an hour a day where I'm getting out of the mind entirely and simply becoming present and getting into my no mind and simply being aware of the sensations of this experience and riding my edge and breathing through it. I don't need someone to tell me what's going on spiritually. I am experiencing it. To talk about it too much would actually to weaken it. It would be to be an abstraction level beyond the actual experience that I'm having, which is what I was seeking. So I've really grown to like this very physical, less mental yoga practice with enough mental reminders that it keeps me on track. Enough of the kind of core basics about being present, everything's perfect, this is for you, that I stay in that mode even if I'm not thinking about that mode. That makes sense? Now, one thing I wanted to mention is that we in the West often think of yoga as a bunch of stretching postures. And that is not a very accurate definition of yoga. Yoga is actually, I didn't even put the link up. It's over there. I can find it here. Give me 2 seconds. Maybe not. Well, there are a number of different types of yoga. Hatha yoga being the postures. You know what? Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So I ran into an old friend who just got back from India a few months ago, and they something came up. They talked about they were studying yoga while there, and I said, someday I want to get into yoga, and they were like, what? They're like, you're totally into yoga. I was like, no, I don't. I never go to yoga classes. She's like, oh, yoga it's not just the postures. That's one part of yoga. Yoga is all these different avenues of integration and balance. And here's the ones the 6 branches of yoga: Hatha yoga, or yoga of postures; Bhakti yoga, or yoga of devotion; Raja yoga, or yoga of self-control; Jnana yoga, or yoga of the mind; Karma yoga, or yoga of service; Tantra yoga, or yoga of rituals. So each of these is an element of the overall practice of yoga. And I think that is a good reminder too. And it's also one of the reasons why this is feeling so at home to me. And when I hear the things that the small things that the instructors do say in the yoga classes, I'm kind of like, what? Are you listening to Hug Nation? Because the concepts that we touch on all the time in Hug Nation are there's a lot of overlap with things like the yoga of service, and the yoga of the mind, and just the general ideas, which I think is why it's feeling so resonating so deeply with me. It's also an exciting thing for me to realize that here's, as much as I am at home in this realm of the Hug Nation community, which we share, there's also I mean, the awareness that there's this yoga community, which is massive, that has far more overlap in the ideology of Hug Nation than I ever realized. That's encouraging. Someone before we started was saying, oh, you should lead a yoga class online this way. And while I don't think I'm ready for that now, and who knows when I will be, I have been entertaining that fantasy of growing into that place of leading a combination physical yoga and Hug Nation, where it is breath and presence and body and also spirit in a talking sense as well, and kind of bringing those all together. Hug yoga, amen. So the other big kind of metaphoric lesson of yoga, I think, that is just beautiful, and it has to do with the practice part, is just the general flow of yoga is find your edge, breathe through it, tension, release, challenge, resolution. And in each time you're bending to a downward dog, you're not thinking, okay, once I get through this downward dog, I'm going to be doing a bridge. It's not like you're not trying to get to the next thing. Everything you do, you're just in that task. You're at they're only the task at hand. And how easy it is to get out of that frame of mind when in the normal world. How many times do we say, okay, as soon as I get this done, I'm going to relax. As soon as I get through this season, I'm going to be able to, enjoy myself. As soon as I lose those 10 pounds, I'm going to be happy with myself. As soon as I do that, as soon as I get this title, as soon as I get my degree, as soon as... And when we're in that state, the task at hand becomes an obstacle. It becomes a problem. But the truth is, there is no such thing as anything but the task at hand. And the only way something that is the task at hand can be an obstacle is if you can't let go of the thought that you wish you were over there already. If you're not present, if you're thinking this is in the way of you being where you want to be, then this thing is bad. It's a problem. It's an obstacle. But if you let go of that, like a yoga practice, and just be like, okay, this is what I need to breathe through. This is where I need to have integrity. This is where I need to align with love. This is where I need to be present. Then it doesn't matter what it is. It's simply the task at hand. Now that is another one that can change your life. I believe, and I have found, that when you can get to that place of letting go of your plan where you should be and where you want to be, and instead get focused on being present and acting from your highest self in the moment, that you end up taking the steps, moving in the direction, making things happen in magnificent, magical ways. People fear that if they let go of their plan, they'll just do nothing. But that's not true at all. You just will be led from a place that is connected to source as opposed to being connected to your mind. And it takes a leap of faith to believe that that's going to happen, to trust that you have that your highest self is down in there, and your bliss, your joy is actually that voice, that thing, that pull that is going to bring you and take you towards where you're supposed to be, of service to something. So it is an honor to have this task at hand involve all of us, to have our energy and our love and the point of being in this, of sharing this, is not to get or do anything or achieve anything. It's simply to be present. And hopefully, I think what happens is as we sink into this experience and allow ourselves to be here with one another and feel our hearts reflected to one another, it does amplify that heart song in us, and it does make us feel more in touch with our best selves. And so that then when we are in a quiet time, the next step feels natural. The action of kindness feels like the right thing to do. The gifting feels right. The integrity-filled action, the standing up for something, the saying no when you should, saying yes every other time. All of that comes from a place not of like, gonna make it happen, gonna make the plan work. Instead, it comes from a place of, this is who I am, and who I am would act in this way. Thank you for acting in a way that would share this moment right now. It is an honor. I think we should have a hug. So wherever you are, grab yourselves by the shoulders. Thank you, body. Thank you for allowing me to do the task at hand, whatever it is, whether right now it is squeezing and being squeezed, whether that is stretching, whether that is resting. Thank you for allowing me to receive so much stimulus, to take in so much of this amazing world, and to interact with the world. What a gift. Thank you. And help me to remember that I am not my personality, I am not my ego, I am not my fears, even though sometimes I act from that place. And help me to forgive myself, to remind myself of my highest self that is deep down in there, that guides me when I can be quiet. And allow me to see that perfect divine self in others. Even people who are acting very at odds with that divine self. People who are driven by their ego and by their fear and by their power needs. Let me see through that. Let me see that they're divine perfection. And let me love them as an extension of myself, as a piece of the whole. Just take a deep breath and just feel connected to all the people in the world. Breathe in connection. Share it with the world. Breathe in courage. Share it with the world. Breathe in love. Share it with the world. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you for being you, for shining your light, for walking your walk. I love you. Namaste.